That's a relief. It is. Not another Marvel movie where I have to pretend to care about what happens next because I love those characters so much. Nah. This one, I got no such qualms. This is one of the few movies where I legitimately smiled and cared about the characters and whether they lived or died. That's right! I'm talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously. But since we're doing these reaction videos now, I figured why not talk about the first time we met Star-Lord and the gang? So let's do it! So our story begins in 1988. Where else? We see Peter Quill as a kid, a child who just lost his mother to a long illness. And before she kicks the bucket, she leaves him a present. Now, Peter runs off to the hospital, but his father isn't there. So instead, he stays behind in the parking lot and cries, all alone. Soon enough, though, he's whisked away into space by a band of cosmic miscreants known as the Ravager, led by the Ravager Yondu Adonta. They were hired to kidnap Peter. See, but he'll end up growing up with them instead. So fast forward 26 years, and we find Peter as an adult, a self-proclaimed hero and notorious thief. Here he steals some shiny orb. I don't really know what it does yet, but trust me, it's important later. Anyway, Peter makes his getaway, but he's soon intercepted by Korat the Pursuer, a member of the Kree military under the command of the fanatic Ronan the Accuser. See? Those Ravagers who took Peter weren't supposed to. They hired Yondu to take the kid to his dad. But it turns out Peter doesn't have one. Or at least, not anymore. So Yondu raised him as his own, more or less. But anyway, Ronan catches up with Peter, demanding the orb. But Peter ain't having it. As the battle wages on, we're treated to a flashback of Peter in his youth, showing us how Yondu raised him to be a hero, sort of. Turns out he even made up stories about his parents and where they went, presumably to keep Peter from prying further. But sadly, Yondu ends up getting shot in the face and falling into a bottomless pit. So Peter decides to run instead. Now a little later, we find Peter hiding out on the planet Mirage, stealing the same orb that he was hiding from the Kree and Ronan. And of course, when Yondu found out about this, he put a bounty on Peter's head, basically saying, okay, well, you stole the thing I was hired to steal, you little bastard. I guess I'll just hire everyone in the galaxy to hunt you down now. The two do battle, though, and despite being outnumbered, Yondu is able to fend off Ronan's men and escape. Meanwhile, Peter's trying to sell the orb to the Nova Corps, but he's almost immediately attacked by two assassins, Gamora and her sister Nebula. You see? Their father is Thanos, one of the most feared villains in the cosmos, and they're hunting down the orb as well. Gamora overpowers Peter, so he appeals to her sense of morality, telling her that it would look bad if Ronan acquired the orb. She considers this and decides to spare his life. Instead, Peter gets a chance to buy his way out of this situation with the fact that he knows a secret about her that could ruin her reputation. Now, if you've watched the Avengers movies, you probably already know who Thanos is. If not, I mean, fair warning. Man, you're gonna wish you never asked. But basically, Thanos adopts these girls, trains them to become elite killers, and then lets them loose on the galaxy to do his dirty work. Occasionally, though, he forgets that he adopted them and mistakes them for his biological daughters. So, yeah, weird dude. Anyway, Gamora takes the orb and sneaks aboard a ship carrying the Nova Corps. Her plan is to sell it to them, except that doesn't happen because Peter steals it back. The two end up fighting, which draws the attention of a couple bounty hunters, genetically enhanced raccoon named Rocket and a walking tree named Groot. Unfortunately, the Nova Corps arrive and arrest them all, throwing them into a prison called the Kion. While they're there, they encounter a guy named Drax who just wants to murder Gamora because she's Ronan's accomplice. Now, you see? Ronan murdered Drax's entire family, so he's pretty pissed. Peter tells him that Gamora can lead them to Ronan, which is a lie, but Peter has no other choice. He's locked in a cell with Rocket and Groot, and he needs to come up with a plan to escape quickly. Now, while Peter, Rocket, and Groot are formulating their plan, we're treated to a flashback that shows us where Gamora comes from. Her father adopted her after he destroyed her homeworld and wiped out her entire species. Then he did the same thing to her sister Nebula, except Nebula ended up surviving. Thanos adopted her too and continued training her to become an elite assassin. Anyway, back in the present, Peter's got a plan to bust out of jail, but it requires Gamora to work with them. Together, they defeat the prison's security system and make their way to Peter's ship in a hangar. Meanwhile, Drax is causing trouble in the main area, and when the guards go to detain him, Peter and the gang escape in his ship. Later, they land at a place called Nowhere, which is a criminal hideout built inside of the severed head of a celestial. To protect themselves, they decide to seek refuge here and hopefully lay low for a bit. Except it doesn't happen because Drax gets drunk and summons Ronan right to their location. Gamora says that she has a buyer for the orb, and that buyer happens to be someone we've seen before. It's Thanos. The Collector says that he'll pay whatever price they ask for the orb, but Peter decides to stick it to him by asking for something completely unrelated. Then Thanos arrives and reveals that he actually knew Gamora was planning to betray him all along. He just wanted to see what she would do. The orb's power is revealed when the Collector accidentally touches it. It's dangerous to most, but Thanos seems unharmed. The Collector looks at Thanos and asks him to do the universe a favor and die. Well, he doesn't do that. Instead, he kills the Collector's assistant. Peter demands that the Collector release his friends, and he does, but only because he's more interested in the orb now. Then Peter and his group retreat to the Milano and attempt to escape. The Collector tries to stop them, but Thanos stops him. Then Gamora reveals that she has brought the wrong orb, but Thanos isn't upset. Instead, he takes it, knowing that it's just a ploy to lure him out. Now, Peter and company are free to go, but Thanos warns them that he'll destroy. Now, since the Nova Corps are stationed there, this would technically mean the destruction of the Nova Empire, and Thanos would love that. So Peter decides to take the orb to the Nova Corps in hopes that they can contain it. However, Ronan beats them there first and grabs the orb for himself. Soon after, Peter calls upon the Ravagers, but he's too late. Ronan has embedded the orb into his warhammer and taken its power for himself. With the new power, he wrecks the Ravagers and flies away. Peter realizes that they're outmatched, so he flies towards Ronan with a distraction, allowing Drax and Rocket to sneak up on Ronan's ship. There they destroy his warhammer and remove the orb from it. Then Ronan crash lands on Xandar, where he proceeds to walk towards the Nova Citadel, which houses the Nova Corps. But before he can destroy it, Peter, Gamora, Drax, and Rocket arrive. Ronan easily defeats them and begins destroying Xandar. But just as he's about to obliterate the Nova Corps' headquarters, Peter removes the orb from the harness, and with Gamora. Afterward, the Nova Corps apprehend Peter's group, but they're released thanks to Peter tricking Yondu into taking a container with the orb in it. Peter also gives the real stone to the Nova Corps. As the Ravagers leave, Yondu remarks that it turned out well that they did undeliver Quill to his father per their contract, and Peter's group, now known as the Guardians of the Galaxy, leave in the rebuilt Milano along with a sapling cut from Groot. During the end credits, we learn that the Collector survived the explosion caused by his assistant and that his living exhibits include a canine and an anthropomorphic duck. Wow, what a bunch of weirdos! So that's the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It's a good one. I highly recommend it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Also, feel free to follow me on social media.